These are your 9-3B notes. And in this section, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to show you how to convert from standard form to vertex form, and then vice versa, how to go from vertex form to standard form. So in the last section, we learned all about vertex form. When it's in that form, you have an A, H, and K that's different than A, B, and C. So just to kind of review those concepts, the axis of symmetry here is x equals negative b over 2a. Okay, that's also how you find the vertex or the x coordinate of the vertex. You would still have to plug that point in to find the y coordinate of the vertex. But the other thing that standard form is good for is your y-intercept. Just by looking at it, we can get the y-intercept. We know that it's equivalent to c. So standard form kind of serves a purpose. It's kind of nice. You have this c value, and then the a value pretty much does the same thing in both. It tells you if it's a minimum or a maximum, and if it's going to be really skinny or if it's going to be really fat. When you're dealing with vertex form, your vertex is the H and K values, so you don't have to do any calculations. The axis of symmetry is equivalent to x equals h, no calculations. So those two major parts of your graph are done just by looking at it. You do not get your y-intercept. You can't see your y-intercept. Sometimes kids think that K is your y-intercept because it's at the end, but it's not. Okay, so you don't get the y-intercept, but that's a trade-off. You get the vertex, which is a pretty nice point there. The a value also does the same thing it did before. So if we have standard form and we're trying to go to vertex form, we are going to just do the following. We're going to identify the a value, and then we have to find h and k, which is really calculate the vertex. So when we have standard form, we're going to have to use x equals negative b over 2a. So let's see how that looks. And then the second half of these notes, I'm going to just kind of clean up and sort of change a little bit just to kind of show you something different here. So the 3 and 4 are going to look completely different. And just to keep these short, we've done this a million times. We'll come back to it. But right now, all we're going to do is convert. Okay, so if I'm trying to take this standard form and put it into vertex form, I need an a value, I need an h value, and I need a k value. My a value, I can just look for. It's a 1 here. My h value, I got to find using my formula. So x equals negative b over 2a. X equals a positive 8 over 2 times 1. That's 8 over 2. X equals 4. So when I say x equals 4, I'm talking about in my vertex, the x coordinate, which is also h. They match, right? To find k, I need to plug that 4 into my equation. So I'm going to do that calculation right here. Y equals 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 6. That means y equals 16 minus 32 plus 6. My y value then, 16 take away 32 is negative 16 plus 6 is negative 10. So there's my vertex. So once you find the vertex, you actually are looking at the h and k values. And that's really all you need. You need a, h, and k. So to finish it up, I'm just going to write down the vertex form. Y equals a value 1, parentheses, x minus 4 squared minus 10. The one that's tricky is the 4. Looks like a negative 4, but it's really positive. So that is how you get it into vertex form. You find the vertex. Let's try it one more time here. For the second example here, same thing. I want a, h, and k. My a value I see is 1. I need to find h and k from the actual vertex. So I'm going to do x equals negative b over 2a, a familiar formula, negative 2 over 2 times 1, negative 2 over 2. My x coordinate on my vertex is negative 1, which means my h value is negative 1. To find my k value, I take that -1 and I plug it into my x values. Y equals -1 squared plus 2 times -1 minus 12. -1 squared becomes a +1. 2 times -1 is -2 minus 12. And that ends up giving me -13 for my k value. So when it's all said and done, I get y equals, my a value is a 1, x, we're going to say plus 1 now, because minus a negative, squared, and then k is always the same as its sign. That's just something you're going to have to memorize. Okay? Now the bottom part, I'm not going to give you any notes on it. We're just going to do it because you are all familiar with the math that's involved. So I'm going to change the bottom completely. We'll just use a space really. I'm not going to do a lesson summary practice. So I'm going to change these up. I'm going to actually call these vertex form. So let's do one pretty simple where the a value is 1. So the quantity x minus 1 squared plus 3. And then let's go ahead and do another one. Y is equal to, we'll put a 2 out in front just to show you what that looks like. X plus 3 squared, and let's just say minus 4. Okay, so the first one here, we just need to do the math, actually. We got to get rid of those parentheses. So to get rid of those parentheses, we got to square this quantity. So when we square that quantity, an easier way to do that, I think we learned back in chapter 8, is to write it down twice, right? I'd have you cross off the squared and write it down twice, and then eventually we'll have to add 3 to it. So let's go ahead and FOIL. Y equals x times x is x squared. X times -1 is -1x, another -1x inside, and then last would be -1, which is +1. Don't forget the +3. So when I combine like terms, not only will I have to combine the middle terms, I got x squared, this -1x and -1x makes -2x, but then this +1 and +3 now makes +4. And standard form just sort of shows up then. Here's your standard form. So we had vertex form to standard form. All right, let's try that again. For the second one, now I got to multiply by 2, and I'm not multiplying everything by 2. I'm only multiplying this quantity squared by 2. So the -4 will be the very last thing I do. Before I can multiply by 2, though, I have to do the exponent. So order of operations tells me I have to square that quantity first. So I'm going to rewrite it twice, x plus 3 times x plus 3, so I can FOIL, -4. The 2 is out in front. The 2 is just going to sit out front for a while. I'm going to put inside the FOIL, inside parentheses, so I know what I'm multiplying by 2. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x outside. Inside gives us 3x. And last gives us +9. And the parenthesis, and then -4 sits on the outside. The -4 doesn't get multiplied by 2. So I could distribute the 2 right now to these 4 terms, but I'm going to take the step and combine these 2 middle terms, so I only have to distribute through 3. So keep the 2 out in front. X squared plus 6x plus 9 minus 4 on the outside. Now distribute the 2, a little longer. 2x squared plus 12x plus 18 minus 4, and the last calculation I have to do is I just have to subtract the 4 from that 18. Y is equivalent to 2x squared plus 12x plus 14. And there you have it. So the standard form that goes with this vertex form is right here. All right, we'll try that in today's homework.